preventing it from traveling further down the wastewater system so that it prevents clogs and subsequent sewer overflows when the wastewater system is overloaded from these types of products.
In 2018, when we first went into having our ordinance for grease traps, we initially went into the program doing all food service establishments and inspecting every single one of them, and we quickly realized that it wasn't going to be very efficient. So we developed a program to be able to
I now declare the Plano City Council is convened into open session, that all council members are present. The council will now recess into executive session in Training Room A to hold a closed executive meeting pursuant to the provisions of Vernon's Texas Code's Annotated Government Code, Chapter 551, the Open Meetings Act, in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551.071 to consult with the attorney, receive legal advice, and discuss litigation. Section 551.087 to discuss economic development matters, and Section 551.074 to discuss personnel matters. Thank you. I now declare the Plano City Council preliminary open meeting is reconvened into open session, that all council members are present. Our first item on the preliminary agenda is consideration and action resulting from the executive session. Council, if I could have a show of hands, do you agree that the city attorney's office can proceed with the civil enforcement action related to Ivana Grove Apartments in accordance with the legal advice discussion in executive session? All in favor? Motion passes 8-0. Okay. Next item. Our personnel, Board of Adjustment, alternate member. Councilmember Kerr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate Ray C.
Sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
Second.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second for the alternate member for the Board of Adjustment. All in favor? Raise your hand. Motion passes 8-0. The next item is Heritage Commission Chair.
Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Nair Ali Rasu as the chair for 2025-26 Heritage Commission.
Mayor, I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. So I motion and a second to appoint the Heritage Commission Chair. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes 8-0. Next item is personnel appointments. Animal Shelter Advisory Committee for the member as a veterinarian. Go ahead, Mr. Lewine.
Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Dr. Anthony Hall as a reappointment as our veterinarian on this board.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion and a second to appoint the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee member, specifically the veterinarian. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes 8-0. Next item is Senior Advisory Board Chair.
Mayor, I would like to move to appoint Deborah Arango as our Senior Advisory Board Chair.
And Mr. Mayor, I would like to second that motion.
All right, so I have a motion and a second for the Senior Advisory Board Chair. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes 8-0. And then the Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 2 and number 3 Boards Chair.
Mayor, I'd like to move to appoint Liz Lansing as the chair of TIF 2 and 3 board.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Mayor, I second it.
All right, so I have a motion and a second to appoint the TIF Zone 2 and 3 Boards Chair. All in favor? Motion passes 8-0. Thank you. Our next item is the Arts Implementation Committee update and direction. Andrew?
Director of Policy and Government Relations. We wanted to come forward both for staff direction and direction for the subcommittee. As we are working to overhaul the grants program for fiscal year 27-28, we had a few questions for general counsel direction. One, could an organization apply for both cultural arts funding and heritage funding? This subcommittee was of the opinion that no, but we wanted to make sure that the council was in alignment with that. You could only apply for one or the other. Two, can an organization apply for funding for an event within an event? Again, the subcommittee recommends that no events should be self-produced and standalone. Also, as we look forward to fiscal year 27-28, the subcommittee and the council members on that committee are hopeful to move towards an events-based grant program. But before we endeavor through that process, we want to make sure we had alignment with the full council. And in the meantime, as we work through that, with the council support, a temporary return to the original grant guidelines, allowing limited exceptions for venues outside of Plano. So as we're revamping the program to make it a little bit easier for this next award year, we'd like to stay consistent with how we've been moving forward. But with that, I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Holmer for further comments and direction.
Thank you, Andrew. I think you covered everything. Steve, was there anything that you or Chris would like to add?
I think in relationship to the third item, the returning, I think it's important to note that Plano does have some limitations in terms of what types of facilities we have. But even within that, our arts organizations are going to whatever lengths they can to do what they can to stay in Plano. And to that effort, our symphony has made the effort this year to decide not to use the Eisman, and will take on additional dates that they've been able to get at the Robinson, and will move at other dates to churches. So they are working with us to do that, and not everyone can do that, but I think the recommendations are a good step right now, so that we can do a more comprehensive revamp for the following year.
I have a question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
obviously Steve and Julie is much more knowledgeable than I am. But the second question that you have about the funding within the funding, can you give me an example what that means?
Sure. So one example would be one of our festivals. We might have an organization that wants to be present at a festival and host an event, or seek funding for a table, any number of productions within that festival. And so I think the subcommittee's thought is that this is really for those self-produced items, so, you know, standalone festival, standalone event, performance, et cetera.
I see. I thought it may have meant like if there was I guess a sub organization who needs funding from the original fundraiser or original applicant, but this is actually, they just want grants from having like a table at an
Right,
event.
or a performance. You know, if we have a festival and then we have a group that's going to perform at that festival,
festival.
we're
I
not
see what you're
funding
saying.
both.
Right.
We'd be looking at funding one or the other.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Any other? You're still?
So Mayor and Council, we would like direction. So if I'm seeing heads nod and I'm not seeing any questions along those lines. So it sounds like the suggestions seem acceptable to council. Just double checking.
I just want to add one more comment, which is I agree that I think it's a really, really great thing what Councilman Levine was talking about, where people are actually making an effort to stay in Plano or to have the event in Plano. And that's really what we want to move towards. I mean, we're not putting a hard line saying it has to happen today, but rather seeing efforts of people actually moving and focusing in Plano. And I think that's really good.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 4, cost recovery update regarding building inspections, planning, and engineering.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Shelley Seamer, one of the Deputy City Managers, along with the 3 department directors from Planning, Engineering, and Building Inspections. So tonight, we are here to give you I'll give just a brief overview again of cost recovery and where we are to date. And then the 3 departments will talk briefly about where they are, what their recommendations are for their target fees, as well as give some examples, and then we'll get some direction from you all. So just as a reminder, this is the whole policy in one graphic. Basically, the cost recovery model is a framework for the city to recoup costs for programs and services that do charge fees. And it's based on three different really continuums. One is who benefits. Is it the community as a whole, or is it an individual that benefits? The other is what is the level of cost recovery? Is it 100% tax supported, so very no fees or very minimal fees for that service? Or is it 100% fee supported? And within that continuum falls down to the next one, what is the basis of those fees? Typically, best practices, we're always looking at using our tax dollars the most effective, but as well as on the other continuum or the other side is what are we recovering as far as all of our direct and indirect costs, so specific to Plano, what is it costing us to provide those services? And then we look at market as a point of information for the departments to look at when they're making their recommendations to you all for setting some of those individual fees. So here is a brief timeline. City Council adopted the new cost recovery policy in March of this past year. Then along with the budget process, the budget team worked with the departments and a consulting firm, MGT, to conduct the cost recovery study. We have used them for a number of years with various other department revenue cost providers. And then really since then, the departments have looked at where, from what MGT recommended and their study, what fees, where we are today and how to get to a more effective or whatever is thought of as far as what is our target range to recoup costs. Those are what we're presenting tonight to get some feedback from you all. And then in November, it will be an actual either resolution or ordinance setting those fees. So let me just review the formal fee review study. So every revenue generating department that is operating budgets, we will look at their fees through like an MGT study every 4 years. And in the interim years, or really right now, we're looking at planning, engineering, and building inspections. They look at what is the full cost, direct, indirect costs of providing those specific services. And then on the interim years, basically, it's through the annual budget process. The budget department will work with the individual departments and look at reviewing what their past, it's the actual costs, so it's kind of in arrears 1 year. So this next year, they'll be looking at what fiscal year 24-25 completed as far as all the revenues and all the expenses to make sure that based on that continuum, are there any adjustments that need to take place the following year? And then I put on the slide market awareness. We will always look at similar cities. These are the benchmark cities we've identified for our cost recovery and fee-based studies. So the departments then look at the top tier is similar cities based on population and where they are in their growth. They're very similar to Plano in they're pretty much built out, just like Plano, similar size in population. And then, of course, our neighboring cities. What are they charging for these similar fees or similar services? So I'll spend a little bit of time on this slide because what this shows you is the first column is what are we currently receiving in our cost recovery. So for the 3 development services departments listed there, we are right now recouping 58.7% of our total costs. And then you can see how those relate to each of the individual departments. And those are the fees that they are recouping from those services. 84.4% for building inspections, 22.8% for engineering, and 20.4% for planning. What we looked at was how can we propose maybe a phasing in approach to the fees over a 3-year period. And so we challenged the departments to look at achieving a 40% cost recovery for year one, 60% for the next year, and 80% for year three, knowing year four is basically going to be the study again to see where we fall. And what they have come back with is their year one proposed fees total from all three departments would be 73.5% cost recovery. And then you can see how that impacts or where the each of the three departments fall within their reviews. It's important to note, building inspections did a full cost recovery study in 2020 with MGT. And so they have implemented updates in 2020 that align with the same study practice. Engineering and planning really haven't done a full in-depth cost recovery study in a number of years. In fact, I think that they have been mostly market-based, looking at our area cities and what their comparisons are, with engineering making some changes in 2023 based on some legislative changes, and planning has as well did a market study in 2017. At that time, it was determined not to change fees on a whole scale. So that's some of the background I think that's important to note. What we're looking from you when the departments talk about their specific areas and targets, they're not going to get into every individual fee. What we're looking at is, are you comfortable with that proposed year one target and what we're looking towards for the next 3 years with those phase-in fees? And they'll show you some examples of what those targets are based on kind of similar service areas and how that fits on the continuum. And then we'll look for feedback from you that will then translate into a fee resolution and ordinance. Right now, we're focused on giving you some numbers based on that year one column. If you tell us differently, we'll go and adjust. So I'll turn it over to our chief building official, Celso Mata, to talk about the building inspection fees.
Celso Mata, Building Inspections. Good evening, Council. As you can see, in our Tier 4, at 61 to 90%, we have residential construction, certificate of occupancy. Residential construction being mostly home construction and any residential improvements. Tier 5, we have commercial construction and contractor registration. That makes up the bulk of most of our permitting, which is in commercial work. Here you can see some fee examples, which we have for certificate of occupancy, simple trades, reinspection fees, and after hours. Our current fees are shown. You can see what we propose for year one. And then the benchmark cities, and there is a difference in many of the cities. You can see that we are competitive with what we propose in year one. As was mentioned before, our cost recovery is already at 84.4%. 80% was the goal. We're already there. And then the proposed year one, we would move up to 88.6%. So a little bit of change, but I think that we're already in the goal that we're trying to reach. And as stated earlier, we've had several years review of our fee schedule. I think the last time we reviewed our fee schedule and had a change to it was in 2020. And I think at this time I will be handing off to Caleb Thornhill with engineering.
All right, good evening. Caleb Thornhill, Director of Engineering. So, similar to what Celso mentioned, we've got our fees in the Tier 4 and Tier 5 category. Tier 4 inspections are going to be site inspections. We inspect public improvements related to a development project, but we've got those in the Tier 4 because those improvements are needed for the development. And then Tier 5, for that's plan review, we've got that at the top tier. So unfortunately, engineering's fees are a little bit messier than building inspections. This is not all of our fees, just some examples. You see the asterisk there for the benchmark cities. We have very limited data. Shelley mentioned earlier that in 2023, legislative changes occurred that changed the way we do inspection fees. The industry traditionally was 4% of the estimated cost of the public improvements. 2023, the state legislature said we cannot do that anymore, so every city has chosen a different path. So we've got the number there of increasing from 0.4 to 0.65. That's consistent with some other categories that we inspect on a square foot basis, but it's a little bit out of line with the benchmark cities, but there's only 2 other benchmark cities that do it the same way we do. So we could not use the other 7 or 8 different cities to compare that. Drainage improvements, you can see it's on the other end. Again, similar, we only had 2 other cities that we can compare it to. And then engineering plan review fee, that is not a fee we currently have. And so we've proposed that for year 1. Again, there was 1 other city that does a flat fee for engineering plan review fee. And so we're in line with that, but there's only 1 other city that does a resubmittal fee, and that was the 900. There are other cities that do resubmittal fees, but 1 was 50% of their original fees, so it's very difficult to compare apples to that. There are some other cities that do original or engineering review submissions, but 1 was 101 plus a $300 per hour. 1 combines with inspection fees. 1 charges on a 1,500 plus a 911 disturbed per acre. So again, very challenging to compare those side by side. From a revenue standpoint, Shelley mentioned this, engineering would increase by 2-fold, essentially, up to 56%, and that's a 33% increase. So with that, I will turn it over to Christina.
All right, thank you. So planning's targets are a little bit different from some others. You see, we actually have a split between all the way down from Tier 1 to Tier 5. We have some unique items in Tier 1, heritage preservation. We're actually in the preservation program asking people to predict and prevent some of the use of their property to preserve the value and the aesthetics for the future of the community. So we believe that is largely a community benefit because people are restricting the use of their own property. A reasonable accommodation that is to make a property more accessible for an individual with a disability, and charging a fee for that could be considered a hindrance to the individual with that disability, so we do not want to charge a fee for that reasonable accommodation request. So those are somewhat unique. Tier 3, development plans and plats. Those are really a range of things, but they provide some community benefits, some individual benefits. I'll give you a few examples there. Things like our tree preservation program provides a benefit to the community in that it beautifies the community. It provides clearly benefits to the property owner as well by beautifying and providing a benefit to the property, but there's sort of, I believe, a shared benefit to those things. Additionally, in enforcing our subdivision ordinance, things like cross-access, that is a restriction and burden on the property owner, but also it does provide access to that property owner, but it also provides access to others to go through that property. So again, a shared community benefit, so it's some sort of give and take on a lot of what we do, so that's why we thought Tier 3 was appropriate. And then Tier 5 variances, zoning, really rezoning a property, and when someone comes and asks for what's essentially an exception through the Board of Adjustment, we believe those things are all an individual benefit because they're actually people asking for something different, new, or outside the box, and therefore are Tier 5. So what does this look like? Some examples for planning. Again, variances, subdivision ordinance, we really took a kind of hard look at our operations and came up with 10 things that we were not charging fees for, that we wanted to look at what is the cost. And so we're proposing, you'll see when we bring this back, a number of new fees to recoup the cost to the community on a number of things. So when we take subdivision ordinance variances to the Planning and Zoning Commission, we are not currently charging a fee for that. We, in our estimates with MGT, found it cost about $185 every time we take one of those on an agenda. So proposed fee is $150. It's substantially less than the couple of other cities we found that were charging this fee, but their processes are a little bit different. I'm not sure exactly about what Denton's process, but in Richardson, theirs go through the council as well, so that makes sense that theirs are a little more expensive because it's a more extensive process. Zoning changes, this is a big shift for us. They are substantially more expensive, you'll see, than our current fees, but that's still only at about 25%, we're estimating, of the current cost, because zoning is such an extensive process in the city of Plano. It's still substantially less than our benchmark cities, so we're not coming close to meeting that 80% ultimate objective, but again, we're still trying to stay within a reasonable realm, not too far ahead of our benchmark cities for plan developments and specific use permits. And then on heritage resource designation, that's one where it's hard to benchmark because not every city in the area has a heritage program. And again, because it benefits the community to preserve those resources. So we are proposing a $350 fee. It is a zoning action, so it is a substantial expense to the community. But again, we didn't find many other cities. I think only Waco was one, and that's not one of our benchmark cities, was charging. So this is a little unusual, but recouping some cost did seem reasonable. Then final plat, replat, again, increasing that cost from $300 to $800. That would still be less than many of the benchmark cities, but still close to the median. And zoning board of adjustment, increasing that cost as well. It's substantially less than the true cost of doing those, but again, you can see those benchmarks at $290 and $250. We also want to note that several of these items do include public notice fees that are not part of these examples. So planning, we are currently at 20%. We would go up by over twice what we are charging now, so at 46.7% for a total of 26% increase and a net value of $566,000 to the community for the city's budget. So that's our proposal. And with that, I'll just reiterate some of the key dates. We're here tonight to get feedback on the target categories. Then moving forward on November 10th, we'll bring you the specifics of each of the fees. And then in January, we're proposing the effective date for the fees of January 1st. And then we're all available for any questions or comments you might have on this item.
So Mayor and Council, this has been an effort. This is obviously a big effort for our departments to go through and look at all the costs. But as part of our fiscal roadmap project that we've been working on the last several years, cost recovery and cost sharing has been a significant discussion of how much is the community benefit versus the individual benefit. And some of this takes quite a bit of work and analysis. I know that all three of these departments have spent extensive time looking at this. But we do think it's important to get on a regular schedule now that we have as far as the evaluation, the review, and the adjustments. And that's kind of a critical feature that we're working for right now, is you have to kind of step off and get going. But we do think that phasing these in over time and then having that recurring schedule for review and evaluation is going to be critically important to get us on that program as we move forward. But with that, staff is here to answer any of the hard questions, so we'll let them go forward from there.
Councilmember Horn.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentations. I fully appreciate that, and I know a lot of hard work went into this. But I have a couple of questions right now. This additional fee increase really is to cover basically professional service, materials, and other direct costs. Is that correct? And we're still not going to be at 100% cost recovery for that specific item,
That's correct.
right?
That is
So
correct.
The target is only 80%.
80%, so 20% will still be borne through the general fund? Is that
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
Okay. My concern really is the small developer, okay? Because a lot of those costs, you know, the large developers, they know the cost of doing business. But when we have the small businesses that are trying to develop small parcels of land, you know, I want to make sure we're fair to them and we give them every opportunity to be able to work with planning, work with engineering, work with code enforcement. So I'm concerned that there may be some unevenness here, if you will, or an unnecessary burden on a small business to carry forward with trying to get something completed within the city of Plano.
And we understand that, council member. I think the challenge is the cost to the city for the hours that the staff is spending, the materials, does not change, whether it's a large developer or small developer. Those costs to the city are the same. So while I understand that their economics may be slightly different, the cost borne to actually produce that may not be different from the city perspective. I think that the challenge is, and this is what we want to do, is have an efficient process to go through that so that we aren't taking unnecessary costs associated with that. Because we do understand the sensitivity. We do understand a little bit of the rate shock as well. But we think that that consistency is extremely important as we move from project to project.
And it is my hope that if the council approves these rate increases, it'll help us with regards to managing the general fund more efficiently and therefore holding our current ad valorem tax rate at the same, if not try to reduce it in the future. And again, that's depending on the amount of work that we have going through the three departments. I recognize that.
Of course.
Okay, so, but that's where I hope this leads us eventually.
Yes, sir. Understood.
And we are looking at scale. You'll see when you get the detail that some of the fees are scaled to the size of the project, like on a per acre basis.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I have a question about the re-inspection fees. So I understand that, you know, we need to charge for each inspection, but are these because we found something wrong and it wasn't, I mean, how are we doing this re-inspection fee where we go in, we say, hey, you need to double check this, and then so we come back again, and so therefore we charge a second fee? I mean, how does that work?
Reinspection fees are meant to be punitive. So in the case of a reinspection fee, we go out, let's talk about a project. We go out, we give them a permit, they get their first inspection as part of the fees. So we inspect, we see things, we pass it. If we don't pass it, we'll write a fail ticket. And the items that are listed on the fail ticket are what the contractor must fix to get it to code. So they'll call for that reinspection. And we'll go look at the items from the fail ticket. And if all of those items are still there, they didn't fix the items. So why did they call us to come inspect?
I see. They notify you to come.
Exactly. And so their due diligence must be performed. And there's a lot of good contractors out there, but sometimes we are the project managers and telling them that all these things are not. So we will apply a reinspection fee because we really shouldn't have been out there. And then again, it's a second and third time. And believe it or not, that happens. And sometimes they'll call us over and over and we'll go out there even a third time. And so we're raising the fees to make it a bit more punitive. And if you're certainly watching your jobs, there'll never be a fee on you at all.
Well, that was, I guess, one of my follow-up comment is that if it is supposed to be punitive, then after the third time, I mean, I think it should actually be increased by a lot. And then, but I also I want to make sure that we protect those who may think, you guys are just being hard-nosed on some of the inspections, and allow them to have a process of appealing it or, having someone else review it. But in any event, I think if it's going to be punitive, it needs to be a little bit higher after the third time, and you don't talk about after the third time. And so,
No, if we're going out there a third time, that's very rare. We really have an issue there. That's very rare.
yeah, so that's what I suggest. And then the second part is to protect those individuals who are being re-inspected, that if they do have a complaint or a grievance, that they have somewhere to go.
Certainly.
That's all.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Celso. Just want to confirm that if you're coming out for reinspection, do you go through the whole list of items that need to be repaired? Or do you stop if there's something that is found that needs to be redone and then leave and come back?
Yeah, it's a list that's already been made. The inspectors actually are numbering each item, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes the lists will have things, so maybe it's number 3, 5, and 7. And so when they write it, to be consistent, they'll write 3, 5, and 7 again. And so they'll be checking for that, just the items that were on the previous list.
Okay, but you wouldn't stop at item 3 if 3 wasn't fixed. You wouldn't stop and leave. You would go through the whole list just to confirm. I've heard complaints before about inspectors coming out saying, oh, this hasn't been fixed, leaving, but not going through the rest of the list. So I just wanted to confirm that we are making sure that they are clear on what needs to be fixed the next time.
I'm not going to say that hasn't occurred. It has. But then when we get a phone call, it's something that we probably couldn't let go, and we should have caught it on the first time. It's going to make the project safer, and we'll have a discussion with the contractor on that. Also, the inspectors have discretion. They don't have to charge these fees. We work with the contractors over and over, certain job sites, certain communities that are repeat customers, so we want to have a good relationship with the contractors. It's a partnership, and so that's what we're really trying to do. Truth be told, we don't really charge a lot of reinspection fees. We try to work with the contractors, but we haven't changed the reinspection fees in many, 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 many years. And so when we looked at what other cities are doing, we're simply going up what we've gone up, some $25 each, I think. One of them's 50, yeah.
Thank you. And then my only other comment was in regards to the heritage designation fee. That looked like it was a pretty big jump, and I know there's a lot of expense that goes into getting a property to the level to receive that designation. And as we were looking at the tiers and where that falls and that being a community benefit, I assume we'll have plenty of time to review all of the different fee changes, so it may be something to bring up later, but that was just an observation I made that I was a little sensitive to, that maybe we don't want that to be so high because we want to encourage people to be interested in bringing their properties to that level.
We could have that be less. It is a zoning change, and so it's a substantial expense to the city to go through that process. So, and it does then qualify the individual for the tax benefits associated with. So really, if you look at it in regard to that's the step that qualifies them for the tax benefit, I mean, we can consider whether the $350 is reasonable or not. I think we're open to the council's direction.
And that may be kind of where I might agree with Councilmember Horn, talking about the size of the project, maybe. I mean, they are getting the benefit of the property tax reduction, but, again, we want to encourage the development, we want to encourage preservation, so just trying to weigh out, what works best in both situations.
And when you see the whole list, I think maybe we can just weigh everything. The other heritage items, such as certificates of appropriateness, are at 0, with the exception of things that people that have come in after the fact is the only place we're charging. So I think maybe we're going to look at the program. When you look at the program as a whole, you can kind of weigh out whether you think it's fair or not.
All right. Councilmember Quintanilla.
Thank you, Mayor. So I know our goal is to get to 80% in 3 years. Do we plan to stay there at 80% for a while once we get there, or do we plan on doing 100% at some point?
So right now, because we do recognize that there is public benefit, 80% is the goal. And so the aspect is to get there in that third year. And then the fourth year, do the evaluation again to see where we are on that. And then every 4 years becomes the cycle.
Do it
of
again.
evaluation.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you guys so much. We appreciate that. Consent and regular agendas. Is there an item on the consent agenda a council member would like to remove? Councilmember Kerr?
Yes, I'd like to remove item O as in Oscar, please.
Okay. Any other? Mayor Pro Tem?
I'd like to move to,
Well, we'll do that in regular. Yeah, we're just pulling. Okay. All right. No, you're ready to go. I like that. Is there any items for discussion on future agendas? Okay. We will take a 4-minute break, and we will be back at 7 o'clock. We'll let everybody come on in and get a seat, and we'll be back at 7. I now declare the Plano City Council is reconvened in open session, that all council members are present. We'll begin tonight's regular meeting with the invocation led by Pastor Lisa DeBusk with Chase Oaks Church, Legacy Campus, and the Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge led by Troop 416, Charter Organization, Preston Meadow Lutheran Church. Would you all please rise?
Would you bow your heads with me, please? Dear God, thank you for these men and women who serve the people of Plano. May your Holy Spirit reside within each of them as they listen to and act upon items that are needed to improve the life here. We humbly ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
Scout salute. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Be seated. Come on up. Come here. All at once. All right. I want to thank you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
And here's
Thank
our
you.
little.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank
Stay
you
with
so
me
much.
because we're going to take a picture. Come here. Come on. There you go.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, guys. Great fruit. All right. Welcome. 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 Okay. Are we all good? Oh, nope. Okay. You guys, y'all are so shy. Okay. Let's turn around. Face that way. Come back here with me. Come here. Come here. You guys are doing great. Now we're going to take a picture. You tall guys, get back here with me. Are they too far out? Come back. You guys come back here. Y'all are tall. Y'all can see over. Come right here. Perfect. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Okay. Now, it's my honor to be able to present the oath of office for so many of our citizens that are on the boards and commissions and do such an amazing work for the city of Plano, because without you, there's a lot of decision-making that we would have to do without the proper research that you guys do on a daily basis. So when I call your name, I'm going to ask the members in attendance to come up when I call your name, and I'll give you the oath of office all together that are here. So the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee, Michael Higgins and John Sullivan. Board of Adjustment, Connor Barron, Karen Belessa, Jose Figueroa, Mansur Karimi, Michael Pirrick. Building Standards Commission, Justin Adcock, L. Cole, John Gallagher, Mark Maloof, and Robert Thomas. Civil Service Commission, William Allen Rhodes. Community Relations Commission, Priscilla M. Brown, Richard Grady, Magesh Kandadevel, Susan Swan Smith, Samita Voisu. Marvely Chin with the Cultural Arts Commission, Marvely Chin, Diane Goebel, Sherry Levine, Johnny Singh, and Sander Wolf. With the Heritage Commission, Debbie Barrios, Scott Goebel, Mindy Mendez, and Corey Reinecker. Library Advisory Board, Laura Adcock, Christina Ambers, Jody Gilzine, Eric Lewis, and Tom Makake, Jr. Lois, for Parks and Recreation Planning Board, Lois Mansfield, Stephen McGill, Tammy Pelicane, Mark Ferris, and Kristen Reinecker. Planning and Zoning Commission, Michael Bronski, Tosan Oli, Bennett Ratliff, and Tion Lieb Tong. Plano Housing Authority, Monica Coleman, Michael Kist, James Tucker. Retirement Security Plan Committee, Abby Owens, Karen Rhodes Whitley, Cale Sears. Senior Advisory Board, William Case, Heather Jones, Yamasita Thompson, and Faryal Verk. Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zones 2 and 3 boards, Robert DeVries, Terry Luna Harris, Nathan Henderson, Liz Lansing, Angelique May. And Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 5 board, Mashoud Abukari, Doug Bender, Janine Kadena, Ted Hong, Devin House, and Douglas Reese. Okay, great. Thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate it. I'm going to come around. I've lost my handheld mic, but we'll work it out. So if you'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the duties of the boards and commissions of the City of Plano, State of Texas, and will, to the best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state and the charter and ordinances of this city? And you furthermore solemnly swear that you have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, or promised to pay, contributed, nor promised to contribute any money or valuable thing, or promised any public office or employment as a reward to secure your appointment, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you so much. Thank you for, let's all give them a hand. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for serving on our boards and commissions. Okay. Comments of public interest.
Comments of public interest. This portion of the meeting is to allow up to 3 minutes per speaker with 30 total minutes on items of interest or concern and not on items that are on the current agenda. The council may not discuss these items, but may respond with factual or policy information. The council may choose to place the item on a future agenda. And our first speaker tonight is Ivy Shong.
Good evening. And dear Honorable Mayor, City Council members, and the City Management team, and thank you for giving me this up to 3 minutes so that as a City of Plano resident, I could raise the attention regarding the issue and concern that I have encountered on discrimination and violation of City of Plano Equal Right Ordinance, triggered by an arbitrary business decision made by the property management for the apartment complex that I lived in. It seems like a small thing on parking. However, as a City of Plano resident, it will be disappointed to see discrimination behavior and violation of city ordinance can be allowed within the City of Plano jurisdiction. As a taxpayer, I will be disappointed to see civil rights protected by the U.S. Constitution and Texas Constitution can be damaged by discrimination within our community, which I believe this issue and concern can be for a broader and more serious discussion, since civil rights protected by the Constitution and violation of city ordinance are serious issue and concern that deserve more than 3 minutes, regardless that was triggered by small thing or not. As a City of Plano resident, I hope with your support and help, this issue and concern can be resolved soon. And under your leadership, the excellence of City of Plano will be elevated to the next level. And any behavior like discrimination and violation of ordinance can be stopped in our community. And the resolution decision regarding this issue and concern will be made for better community for our current resident here today, future resident, and generation with wisdom, courage, and good faith. And it takes a lot of people and effort to make our community better and for this legacy. And it's sad and discouraging to see some bad apple, and which we can do something to stop that. And thank you for your time consideration.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sunena Ahuja.
She on Zoom?
She's not on Zoom.
Oh.
So if she's not
Well, if she
here-
comes back in the next few minutes, we'll move on to the
Circle
next
back.
speaker.
So our next speaker after that is Crystal Curry.
Hello. I am Crystal Curry, and I've been here before, so good evening, Mayor Munns and other distinguished members of the City Council. In the interest of time and in the allotted 3 minutes, I have passed out a document which, as indicated, you see on your screen, is page 1 is just a title page, and it just is and gives it my name and just the overview of citizen impact. Excuse me, I'm really nervous. All right, and so page 2 of this document is just an overview of myself. It's just a picture. It gives some background information about who I am and a little bit about me. But what I want to hurry and do is to focus your attention on page 3 of this document, which is a citizen impact summary, and it just really goes into detail about why I'm asking the City Council to be involved and to help me. Now, there's 3 areas of main concern. The one is it's multi-jurisdictional, meaning that it spans multiple geographical areas and locations across the United States, including the great state of Texas. And second item is it's highly complex. It involves my medical history and also health and technology technology and the public at large. And then the third is a generational impact. So those are the three primary areas of concern and the reason why I'm engaging the City Council to help me with it. All right, and then the next page goes into a little bit more detail about the medical background and the technology. It tells you how, when I first got up here, I told you that there was a wire, but it's a little bit more sophisticated than that, and this page gives you a lot more detail. I encourage you to read it. I'm not gonna go through it in this meeting. I just don't have enough time to do that. The next page is the biological impacts. I won't go through that either in the interest of time. After that, it describes the public impact, what that is, who the members of the public are, and what
15
has been
seconds.
involved in it. All right, and then the final page, the next page I want to talk about is just a government ask and why I'm requesting the government to intervene and help me with this solution, with this issue. It's unprecedented in the United States, and it's a violation of my constitutional rights. So the ask is on there. You can review it as well at your time. And then finally, there's my contact information, which is on the next page, my email address and phone number, in case there are any questions. And then finally, I want to end it with the last page. Please pay attention to this page because it answers directly how Plano can help. Can help by escalating this issue for me. There are other areas of help that you can give through neighborhood services, Plano Library System, and Texas Workforce Commission. And I'm available to answer any specific questions that you have with regards to it. But this document I put together to kind of give you just an overview of, why I'm asking for the escalation process and why I'm engaging you guys.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you
Curry.
so much.
Sanena is on Zoom now.
Does she come back? Hold on, Bob.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can you turn on your video? There you go.
So I don't know what happened earlier.
Get back to you.
So I had a concern about Plano Aerobats that is shutting down in the middle of the year. So I raised this request through email to postpone the closure of Plano Aerobats till May so that kids can do their session. Because right now we were told just during the beginning of this week that it is going to be shut down all, abruptly. And we have no other place to take our girls because all the teams are already formed. So this was a concern from all the parents of the gymnasts as well as coaches that we did not get enough time to look for other options. And kids are ready with their, with their competition season. Everybody is ready. They practiced a lot. So please take this into consideration that closure time should be postponed. Either it would have been in the beginning of the session or it should be during the end of the session. And if it is because of lack of insufficient funds, so as parents, we are all ready to contribute for, whatever capacity we can. So we would like to have this session going on until the month of May. If that request can be considered, it would be great. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Okay.
Our next speaker is Bob Pinnell.
Good evening once again, Mr. Mayor and council people, and thank you for this opportunity and especially for the senior city council staff and city staff. For the record, I am Bob Pinnell. I'm a 45-year resident of Plano, Texas, residing at 3209 Winchester Drive on the west side of Plano. I am also a member and past master of Plano Lodge number 768 and a current director of its North Texas Masonic Historical Museum and Library. And my purpose here tonight is to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the council and the city staff, because we celebrated last Saturday evening 100 years occupancy of the Plano Lodge known as the Morehouse/Plano Lodge, a historic building over 129 years old. And we have been in that building for over 100 years. only surpassed by our contribution, we hope, to the city of Plano, the settlement, and the cosmopolitan city you are today, which represents 158 years. Having said that, the Morehouse Plano Lodge is, in fact, a designated City of Plano landmark and heritage resource, and in 2017, it was listed in your National Park Service application to register the Plano Downtown Historic District. It was noted as a historic and contributing building. Last Saturday evening was a great gala event, and we were blessed, Mr. Mayor, with the city proclamation, your kind words, and not only orally given, but in writing. And we were also blessed because we had joining us in Feast and Fellowship, Council Lady Downs and Councilman Horn, and a few other of the commissioners were there also. It was a joyous evening. Thank you for devoting your precious time to come visit with us last Saturday evening. And thank you especially for all the support, not only the city, but its commissions and the city staff have given us. You've made being a Plano Mason in Plano, Texas, a simple Masonic pun there, enjoyable and, more important, possible. Have a great evening, and we hope to see you at the 150th. Thank you very much.
You too. Thank you, Bob.
Our next speaker is Alexander Stein. Then our next speaker is Vinette Ahuja. That's everybody.
To the consent agenda.
The consent agenda. The consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion and contains items which are routine and typically non-controversial. Items may be removed from this agenda for individual consideration by a council member, the city manager, or any citizen. The presiding officer will establish time limits based upon the number of speaker requests.
Okay. We have, do I have a motion? Sorry.
Motion to approve the consent agenda except for item O.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item O. Please vote. Motion passes 8-0. If you'll read item O, please.
Item O, to amend Section 12-73D, same specific zones of Article 4, Speed of Chapter 12, Motor Vehicles and Traffic of the City of Plano Code of Ordinances to establish school zones on Hedgecoe Road and Preston Meadow Drive within the city limits of the City of Plano, and providing a penalty clause, a repealer clause, a severability clause, a savings clause, a publication clause, and an effective date.
My name is Brian Shusky, Transportation Engineering Manager, and I'm here to address any questions you might have on this item.
Okay. Councilmember Kerr.
Mr. Suski, thanks for being here. I've had a few residents reach out to me about the school there, and the school zone is something they certainly have asked for. There's also been concern about parents parking on side streets and then walking or carrying their kids sort of anywhere within the street on Preston Meadow. And we also have seen parents parking at Heritage Yards, walking their kids to school then, and while that's absolutely fine, it's off Preston Meadow, what happens when those gates are locked? What happens to those number of cars that are parking there? So I think the concern is, great, we're addressing the speed, but what about people who are walking in the middle of the street and perhaps impeding traffic? One last thing, we've noticed, I live in that neighborhood, and I noticed that on Preston Meadow, the cars will back up so long, they actually back up all the way to McDermott. And so it's difficult to cross into the side streets, the perpendicular streets.
All right, so let me address the last part first, which is the queuing.
Well, hold on one second.
We
Brian.
can address adding something additional that's not on here. We can add that to the future agenda item, but we just need to be specific about this request on the consent. So I'm just staying legal.
So the item right now is just the school zone creation. That's.
Thanks for clarifying that.
We can definitely, if you would like, add additional safety measures.
I'll fill
But
that. I'll fill that.
let's go ahead and get through this and then go ahead and request that.
Well, yes, so several of the citizens, several of the parents requested school zones. The school actually requested a school zone also. We analyzed it, we evaluated, we looked at the traffic volumes, we looked at the speeds there, we looked at the pedestrian volumes, and yes, school zones were warranted on Preston Meadow from Hedgecox north, and then also on on Hedgecox on either side of Preston Meadow. So we basically are bringing that item to the council for approval. We've actually, assuming that the council does approve, we've got the work orders already prepared for Public Works to install the school zones, which will reduce the speeds.
Very good. Thanks for clarifying that. And I'm all in favor of these school zones.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move that the council accept item O as written.
Mayor, I'll second the motion.
Oh, excuse me. We do, thank you, sir. We do have a speaker, Pam Cobb. I apologize. On this item. Yeah. Thank you
Good evening.
for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Bob Kerr. You directed me to come. So I do live across the street from the Basis School of Plano, and I am retired, and so Monday through Friday looks like every Saturday to me, except since the school has opened. I dread Monday through Friday because I have a circular driveway that looks like an H-E-B parking lot. It is unbelievable. They go down my street, make a U-turn if somebody else is already using my driveway to go the other direction. They park in front of the mailboxes, so at dismissal, the mail carrier must get out of her truck at every mailbox for 3 of the streets. That is above and beyond what a mail carrier needs to do to deliver the mail, because they block the mailboxes. During the heat of the summer at the beginning of school, they get out of their car and stand in our neighborhood on our grass under our trees because it's a little bit cooler. I just don't see how a school of 1,300 students should affect our neighborhood like that. If I was selling a house today, I would hate to be in that position to have anyone drive by and go, "Oh, I don't think so." That devalues our property in Stonehaven. So I would like to see someone out there figuring out what the queue line has to be. I have made 7 contacts to the school with no response. They don't want to hear about it. All she wants to do is out there flagging traffic. You've got citizens directing traffic. At one point, parents were out there holding signs to park at Heritage Park. Who's in control here? No one. And that's the problem. Everyone's just parking at will and doing the 4-lane dash and doing U-turns in the middle of the street as well.
30 seconds.
It's just a hot mess Monday through Friday with no regard to the neighbors that the church never had this situation. Yet school, yes. Learning curve, yes. But now we're into school, we're at the first quarter, and we've learned a behavior that anything goes in our neighborhood.
Time.
So I hope for your help. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve item O. Haven't done that yet. No, yeah. Councilmember Downs. The second, so please vote. So motion passes 8-0. And Councilmember Kerr, if you want to maybe more than what you were suggesting, maybe we need to look at the core of the issue here.
Councilman Carey, I'll get with you after this meeting. We'll get an IFA form going, and I'm
Great.
sure that there's plenty to
Yeah.
fill in on that.
I'm happy to fill.
Understood.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all. All right, let's move on to,
Items for individual
thank
consideration.
you, that one.
Public hearing items. Applicants are limited to 15 minutes presentation. Speakers are limited to 30 total minutes of testimony time, with 3 minutes assigned per speaker. The presiding officer may amend these times as deemed necessary. Non-public hearing items. The presiding officer will permit public comment for items on the agenda not posted for a public hearing. The presiding officer will establish time limits based upon the number of speaker requests, length of the agenda, and to ensure meeting efficiency, and may include a cumulative time limit. Speakers will be called in the order requests are received until the cumulative time is exhausted. And item number 1 is public hearing and consideration of an ordinance as requested in zoning case 2025-9 to amend the comprehensive zoning ordinance of the city, ordinance number 2015-5-2, as heretofore amended, rezoning 4.5 acres of land located on the south side of State Highway 121, 1,335 feet west of Coit Road in the city of Plano, Collin County, Texas, from regional employment to regional commercial, directing a change accordingly in the official zoning map of the city, and providing a penalty clause, a repealer clause, a savings clause, a severability clause, a publication clause, and an effective date.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Christina Day, the Director of Planning, here to present this zoning case to you. It is a request to amend 4.5 acres along 121 from the regional commercial zoning district to, the regional employment zoning district to add to the regional commercial zoning district. It is currently developed, as you can see on the aerial photograph, as part of a shopping center, and that is why the request is before you this evening. So there is a history for this property. It has been zoned as well as land along the entire 121 corridor. Back in 2000, 550 acres along this entire corridor was rezoned with a pattern of regional commercial and regional employment with nodes of the commercial zoning at intersections, generally speaking, to create a consistent zoning pattern in this corridor. In 2016, this shopping center began the development process, and as you can see between the line between the green and the red on the screen, there was sort of a curve that didn't fit neatly with a development pattern. So a request was made to rezone and align based on the lot pattern at the time, and the zoning was approved to add 2.4 acres to the commercial area to align with the lots. Then in 2021, a request was brought forward to rezone the additional 4.5 acres that were in the regional employment zoning that would encompass the entire center. And that was denied by the Planning and Zoning Commission, was not appealed to the City Council. And so that same request has been through the Planning and Zoning Commission and there was no recommendation out of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and so that moves forward to the council for consideration this evening. So this is a concept plan that shows the proposal with development, both with a lot along 121 and then another development next to the Kroger building on the rear of the site. So a comparison of the districts. These districts are very close in nature. The development standards are very similar. The primary difference is the uses. So the uses are, there are some uses that are allowed in RC by right or by SUP that are prohibited in regional employment. Those include car wash, retail and shopping center uses, restaurant uses in excess of 10% are prohibited in regional employment. Building material sales, indoor vehicle part sales, small engine repair, vehicle leasing and renting. Those are the type of uses that would be allowed with this zoning change that are not allowed today. So conformance with the comprehensive plan, because the standards of development are similar, it meets the priorities on the land use map and the dashboards. The real issue here is a use issue with regard to redevelopment of the transportation corridors, retail shopping center policy, our land use policies regarding retail action, because the city has a longstanding policy related to underperforming retail centers. The addition of retail is really the issue at hand and what you're being asked to decide. So this is a slide that just gives a little detail about these policies, how we want to create cohesive developments, how we want to reinvest, revitalize, and redevelop underperforming neighborhood retail corners, incentivize redevelopment and revitalization of underperforming retail. So consistent policy guidance at the policy level. So you can see there was a Kroger on the east side of Coit. That has been developed into a much larger, nicer Kroger on the west side of Coit. So a large new shopping center. And so you can see there's quite a bit of development here now. And so we're really just, the question is whether you want to expand and allow those additional uses on the subject property that is kind of in the light gray or white on the left side of the screen in the aerial. So with regard to feedback, the adjacent property owner to the west is in support. We have one homeowner to the south that's neutral and 3 letters of opposition from homeowners to the south. Then with overall feedback that we've received from the community, we have 1 in support, 1 neutral, and 5 total in opposition because we have 2 additional responses from the community. So as I mentioned earlier, this was a split vote at the Planning and Zoning Commission. There were 2 motions made. They both failed, 1 in support, 1 in opposition. So it's moved forward to you with no recommendation because of that kind of deadlock vote at the Planning and Zoning Commission. So that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions you might have about this request. And the applicant is here and does have a presentation.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Councilmember Horn.
Yes, thank you, Christine, for a great presentation. I appreciate the hard work that you did with this. I do have a couple of questions on, when we look at, now my understanding from the last P&Z meeting this did not fail, it just didn't pass. It was just no recommendation to the council.
That is correct.
Okay, with that, do we just have a simple majority to approve? Is that correct?
It would just be a simple majority to
Okay.
approve.
So the second part was on slide 37, and I just need I need some clarification here on slide 37, if you can. We talk about redevelopment and revitalization, but really this area is greenfield construction. I mean, I know that it's been graded because of 121, but is that still considered redevelopment? Because you put it almost in the same category as what we have on some of our tired neighborhood corners. And I kind of, from a conceptual perspective, I disagree with that. I just think it's new development. And I don't see it being revitalization because, again, it's not a tired corner that we're working so hard to improve.
I understand your point, and the reason why the staff has looked at this, I think pretty consistently over the years, when we're looking at adding retail zoning outside of a mixed-use or redevelopment context, when we're looking at greenfield development, our policies have been consistently that we've tried to avoid adding additional retail development in the city, greenfield development specifically, because we know the more retail that we've added, the harder it is for us to continue to redevelop, and the more that we have to invest in redeveloping older centers. So we've got the vacant Kroger across the street. We're continuing to have to reinvest public funds in retail corners today. So the more that we have on the ground, whether it's new today, but it won't be new tomorrow. So we're just adding to that volume, and that's the long-term concern.
I get where you're coming from, but just from a definition, it's not redevelopment. I understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
With the fact is the Kroger across the street, or the building across the street that was previously the Kroger, you know, they moved over to the new facility, which I visited this weekend, and the opportunity, well, the products that they're in there, there's clothes in there. You can
Yes.
go to that Kroger and buy clothes. You couldn't do
very
that in a regular Kroger store. So they're meeting a need for the surrounding neighborhood. It's a demand thing. And so who are we to kind of restrict that demand if it's there? They don't build markets where there's no demand. Yes, the question I have, well, back to where we're at here. The parcel lines that we're seeing here, they were drawn in 2001 under the zoning atlas, is that correct? When we looked at where you had it from RC to RE?
The original line here, that red line there, the edge of the red is what was where the line existed in 2000.
2000, was that part of the zoning atlas is what we
That was
looked-
part of the zoning atlas. And so when the shopping center came in for its initial development, the line was changed to where it is today.
Was that cutout off of 121, that turn-in, was that present in 2001? Do we know?
I don't know if it was present in 2001. It was present in 2016 when the shopping center developed.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a question?
I do. I have a question about, I didn't quite understand when you show the slide about the difference between regional employment and regional commercial. It seems like it's pretty similar. So at this point, the use that the current developer is planning on, it does not go over beyond the regional employment. Am I?
It's the ability to add different uses to the site. So.
In other
right-
words, they want more flexibility?
They want more flexibility on the land use side.
Why? I mean, at this point, aren't they just developing it into like additional parking lot? I think that's what they were saying.
There's two buildings. There's a building on the 121 frontage and then a building towards, adjacent to the Kroger. And so those buildings, I would think this is a great question for them.
Okay.
But they,
Yeah, that's fine.
it gives them more opportunities to build things like restaurants, more
Mm-hmm.
retail. Right now, that's limited to 10% of the overall use in the regional employment district, which obviously doesn't give them much opportunity there. So, and then the vehicle uses, the uses that I listed earlier, which
Right.
I'd be glad to go through again if you'd like to hear those.
No, that's fine. I think that my follow-up question is then, is the P and Z divided because of the specific question I just asked?
I think what I heard from P and Z was just there were some people that thought that this was important, that it was a significant change, and there were some people that felt like it was not a significant change in land use. And I think from what I heard, that's what it boiled down to is, do you think this 4.5 acres is a significant change in land use to the community or not?
I see. Thank you so much.
Deputy Mayor?
I really appreciated hearing the discussion P&Z had and made excellent cases and kind of debated every direction of it, and it really helped me know where I sat on it. But then I do have some additional questions. So there were 5 in opposition, and there's 3 letters of opposition. I assume that's only because they're within that close proximity, and that's the reason we have letters.
That's right.
And one cites a concern about security. Is typically commercial, regional commercial less safe than regional employment?
I'm not sure. I think I don't know why there would be a security concern. There should be similar protections. You see, the regional employment is adjacent to the neighborhood, so.
Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing
Yes.
something there. There was one note about it'd be okay if a privacy wall was installed, and I drove by there, it looked like there was a privacy wall, or, I mean, that's kind of how that division was established.
There will be the same standards, adjacency standards between the RC and RE district and the adjacent neighborhood, so that's not going to change if the zoning changes.
Okay. And then lastly, under SB 840, if that were to be commercial, it would allow for multifamily housing, but that's not possible in that strip. It's too small to allow for something. Is that correct?
I mean, it is part of the shopping center. I'm trying to remember if RE and RC have different standards under, I would have to look that up to see if those standards are different under the changed ordinance.
Because I do feel like that would be not an appropriate place to put
Right.
multifamily housing there. So
Right.
if that's something that I think would be important to know.
Certainly. I think it's part of the shopping center today, the way it's developing. But I think under 840, you can develop it as housing under both districts. It's just what are the city's restrictions?
You put under employment, regional employment?
It could be under regional employment or regional commercial. You could do
Okay,
housing,
well.
either way.
Well, in that case, I'll want to hear the presentation, but I don't really see any reason to deny the request.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Christina. I'll open the public hearing. I think we have the applicant.
Yeah, we have the 3 applicants, Michael Doggett, Jackie
Okay.
Wolpert, and Robert Dorset.
Whatever order you want to go in. So Michael, Jackie, and Robert.
Hey, Mayor Mubs, council members, my name's Robert Dorzell from 7001 Preston Road in Dallas, Texas, and I'm the owner of UCD. And I'm not going to do the presentation. I'm going to let the staff do the heavy lifting on that, but I wanted to just go ahead and just come up and just tell you guys how excited we are that we got this shopping center done. We appreciate y'all considering this zoning change. We bought the property in 2016, thinking that it was going to move forward pretty quickly. Actually had site planning done, and then things got put on hold because of, Amazon and some things in the shopping center world. And so, all the grocery stores stopped for a while. Anyway, we got it open this year, and we've been getting some really great feedback from the community, from people in my, contemporaries that I work with in the real estate community have been very complimentary of what we've done. And so hopefully we've done it, we've provided a center that everybody can be proud of. I just wanted to say that there's a lot of staff members over the last 9 or 10 years that have helped us along the way. Starting with Christina Day was involved in the very beginning. We've had a lot of conversations about zoning. I appreciate her presentation, and I just wrote down some names so I wouldn't forget, but Eric Hill, Mike Bell, Donald Sepulveda, Celso Mata, and Patty Hoffer were very helpful with us, and especially towards the end in getting our CO. We had some mix-ups there at the end. They were always helpful, and also with signage. Danny Natelli to get our final engineering final. And then I just want to say especially to Jack Carr. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I had to call Mr. Carr with a problem and he would just send an email or just send it, and it would just like start getting, worked out. And so anyway, I really appreciate everybody's help with it, and hopefully you all will enjoy the center. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jackie Wolpert, 7001 Preston Road, Dallas. So I'm just going to talk through some of the history, and again, at the end, I'm here to answer any questions that you have. So I'm actually going to start here. So back in 2016, Kroger came to us and they said that they want to have a bigger store to provide additional offerings for the community. And they said that, there's property across the street, that would be great. And so we moved forward with them and planned the development. And at the time, what is shown on the screen was the zoning, except the area in green was part of regional employment, not regional commercial. So one thing on this aerial, so this aerial was taken in 2016, and there is a curb cut, a TxDOT curb cut onto the service road at 121 that's circled in red, and that curb cut existed at the time. There's another one over by Quick Trip, and that one existed as well. But as far as just, ease of shopping and making sure that you have great access for the people that are going to shop your center, we couldn't just rely on one curb cut over by Quick Trip to service the shopping center. And since there was another one located where it's shown here along 121, us and Kroger said that we needed to buy property up to that curb cut to ensure that we would have that access. Because at the time, again, all these curb cuts are under the jurisdiction of TxDOT, and at the time, there was no guarantee that we were going to get another curb cut between the two that existed. So if the curb cut was a little to the east, maybe we would have only bought a little bit to the east, and we wouldn't have bought all the way to the west, but that just wasn't the case. So we worked with the staff, and the reason for the jog in the property line is because that aligns with the Kroger property line, because if we didn't rezone the area in green, then Kroger's property would have had split zoning, which what they weren't okay with, and I think the staff agreed that it didn't make sense for split zoning on one property line, under one property line. So we agreed to, your staff and everyone agreed to go forward with the zoning just for that portion. In 2021, obviously, like Robert had noted, everything got put on hold for a while. In 2021, Kroger said, we're ready to go to kick off this project again, and we revisited the rezoning, but we weren't under construction at the time. We didn't have a full path of what we were gonna do, and it did get denied at P&Z, and we decided that we weren't gonna push it forward to council, and we would just come back at a later date when we knew what we were gonna have built there. So fast forward to today, that's where we are. So going back to the previous slide, so the Kroger store is open, and we have a retail building. That's the L-shaped retail just to the east of Kroger. That retail building is 100% leased. There's not a space available in it. Some of the tenants haven't opened yet, but they're either building out or we just signed the lease within the past month or so, so they're still working through their plans with the city. South of that retail building is another retail building where it says Outlot 10. Again, that retail building is 100% leased. We have no space. We move forward on the retail building that is to the west of Kroger, and we built that with the hopes that we would get regional employment tenants that would want to go in there, and unfortunately, that's just not the case. We have a building that's almost completely ready to be delivered to tenants, and we don't have a lease signed yet because the tenants that are interested in this building and that want to be in this center fall under the regional commercial zoning, not under the regional employment zoning. And the reason for that is because they're more retail restaurant use tenants, not employment-based tenants. So again, the building to the west of Kroger that's in the blue area under regional employment, that building is built, the parking lot in front of that is built, and then we have the pad, which is to the west of the McDonald's, and that pad has to be, because of the Plano requirements for pads, that you can only have one pad or one building on a pad under 5,000 square feet for every 5 acres. So all the tenants that you see along 121 and the Chipotle on Coit Road, those all fill up those 5 that were allowed. So whatever goes on that excess pad that we have in the blue along the frontage road, that has to be greater than 5,000 square feet. So our plan is to also build a retail building there. It's going to be probably 6,000 square feet, and it's going to be a 2-tenant building. We have a bank that's interested in taking just over half of that, and a bank actually is allowed in regional employment, but the people that want to be on the other side of the building all fall under regional commercial because they're more retail restaurant type uses. So that's the plan for the property, and again, I'm here if you have any questions.
Do you want,
Oh, no, no, I think he's
we
good.
done?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
okay. Councilmember Levine, do you have a question?
I do. The property that you're talking about that would be just to the west of the McDonald's, that's in the regional employment area. And the reason we have a regional employment zoning is to encourage offices and such that would, in fact, lead to more employment here in Plano. Could you see building a multi-story office building that would be attractive to an office tenant of some sort, as opposed to, the bank, which would be possibly a single-story type situation?
It's only, I think a little less than 2 acres, so our intent would just to keep it like shopping center type uses. I don't think a multi-story office building is something that we would prefer to do on that property. It would also block visibility to the tenants, especially in the retail building that we're almost done building to the west of Kroger, and we would like to make sure that they're able to be seen, at least from the service road as well.
And if you were to build an office building there, would you have a different requirement in terms of parking and such?
Yeah, I don't think we could accommodate the parking that would be required just on that lot.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is the desired and perhaps appropriate use for that lot is in fact a single-story, possibly a bank, possibly a restaurant that wouldn't necessarily have a drive-through or such in that particular area because of the size of the available lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what restaurant use specifically. I mean, some of them like to have like pickup windows and stuff, but I would say that it would be a retail building with at least 2 tenants of those uses, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it. Any other speakers? All right. I'll close the public hearing. Find the comments to the council. I'll go next. Councilmember Horn.
Thank you. We have seen this kind of messy split zoning dilemma before. There was a case, just to quickly educate our newer council members, back in zoning case 2024-005, where the zoning parcel actually split a building, okay? And the petitioner came to us back when we were back at the Davis Library, fun times then, that he was just trying to change it from regional employment to regional commercial. It was during those presentations that staff told us that the RC-RE boundary lines were not a significant consideration when the lines were drawn in the 2001 atlas, the zoning atlas. But it was really, the more concern was the residential aspect behind the Krogers, behind that area. Also, during that 2024 zoning meeting, staff presented slide number 32 that showed the current subject area, this case here, highlighted in blue as, this is the quote as it was in the highlighted area, 26 acres of retail shopping center under construction by right. It was in that shaded area that the shaded area went to the turn-in from 121. It included this question area here. This particular case was split 3-3, leading to, I'm going back.
No, I was worried your mic wasn't on, but it is on.
It's on.
Okay.
And during the P&Z meetings, there was a question about retail creep, is what that was a term that was used several times. And that Plano had excess retail. I would agree that we have some areas in town that is excess, and retired corners. But demand shows that this center here, the parking lot's full. And it's, our friends to the north are coming in and spending in our neighborhood. And the neighborhood to the south is spending. So I think it's almost a moot point. Demand will drive the retail growth. The 4 acres itself is really too small to turn into a regional employment unless it's something that was really unique there. It's in my opinion that the south turn from the Sam Rayburn Tollway along the western portion of the subject property leads to a natural boundary between RC and RE. It just does. And so it's my recommendation that we'll turn that into a boundary. Let that be the boundary between RC and RE, and allow the petitioner to use the 4 acres for commercial purposes.
All right. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Pro Tem.
Was that a motion?
Oh, was it a motion? Oh,
Well, I'll make a motion to approve. I agree with what Councilmember Horn said, and like I said, we have an excellent Planning and Zoning Commission, and they had a great discussion when I went back and watched that, and while their decision was split, I felt that those that voted in favor, the arguments that they made, it just seems like it makes sense. So I'm in favor, and I make a motion to approve.
hold on. I got you.
Okay, and
Say it again.
I second the motion, please.
Okay. Vidal, you okay? Rick, are you okay? All right, so we have a motion, a second to approve item number 1. Please vote. Motion passes 7-1. Okay, next item, item 2.
Item number 2, public hearing and consideration of an ordinance as requested in zoning case 2025-11 to amend the comprehensive zoning ordinance of the city, ordinance number 2015-5-2, as heretofore amended, to amend the urban mixed-use 2 district on 86.2 acres located on the west side of Coit Road, 970 feet north of Maple Shade Lane, and within the 190 Tollway, Plano Parkway, and Expressway Corridor overlay districts, to add veterinary clinic as a permitted use on blocks A and B of the development plan, and providing a penalty clause, a repealer clause, a savings clause, a severability clause, a publication clause, and an effective date.
Right, zoning case 11, is related to the Urban Mixed Use 2 zoning district, which is, again, located also on Coit. We have a theme here this evening on the west side of Coit, north of Maple Shade Lane, though, in the southern part of town. So this is a request just to add a single use to this zoning district. The retail portion of this zoning district is all along Coit Road in Block A and Block B. That's why these areas are singled out. And so the owner does have a request from a tenant. And so we looked at this and found that it is consistent with other zoning districts to allow a veterinary clinic within these areas. And so Block A is currently complete, but Block B is under construction, and so this would allow them to lease that space to a veterinary clinic. So again, we find it's appropriate in retail settings. Again, veterinary clinic is permitted in Central Business 1, like legacy business parks, kind of core mixed-use area, and downtown Plano. So outdoor kennels would remain prohibited, which we think would be a nuisance that might be something that would cause a problem for a mixed-use setting. So again, a simple change just to allow the veterinary clinic as an allowed use in these two areas on the plan. It would meet the comprehensive plan. We have one letter from support from an adjacent property owner, and overall 3 letters of support, no letters neutral or opposition from the community, recommended 6-0 by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I'm available for questions you might have.
All right. Thank you, Christina. Any questions for Christina? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll open the public hearing. Do you have any speakers? All right. I'll close the public hearing. Confine the comments to the council.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the amendment as written.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 2. Please vote. Motion passes 8-0. Thank you. Next item.
Item number 3, public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to amend Section 21-2, same charges of Article 1 in general of Chapter 21, Utilities of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Plano to modify the fees for residential and non-residential customers of municipal drainage utility system, providing a severability clause, a repealer clause, a savings clause, a publication clause, and an effective date.
Good evening, Karen Rhodes Whitley, Budget Director. This is the first public hearing regarding the municipal drainage rates. We had discussion regarding the rate increases over the summer. They were adopted during the recommended budget and the adoption of the budget. The revenue's already in there. We had to go in the paper, we had to produce the actual ordinance 3 times in a row, and we have done that. So tonight is the first public hearing. We will have a second public hearing on October 27th, and then we'll bring before you passage of the actual rates. They are to go into effect on November 1st. The residential is to go up $1.50 a month, and then for non-residential or commercial, it's a 0.028 cent increase, going from 0.115 to 0.143 per 100 square feet of impervious area.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Karen? All right. I'll open the public hearing. You have any speakers? I'll close the public hearing. Find the comments to the council. Councilmember Horn.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve agenda item number 3.
This is only a public hearing.
Oh, public hearing, we don't have to approve it. That's right.
I'll be back.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Let's move to item 4.
Item number 4, consideration of a resolution to find that Encore Electric Delivery Company LLC's application to change rates within the city should be denied, finding that the city's reasonable rate case expenses shall be reimbursed by the company, finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed is open to the public as required by law, requiring notice of this resolution to the company and legal counsel for the steering committee of cities served by Encore, and providing an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Andrew Fortune, Policy and Government Relations. Encore is requesting an $830 million increase. This represents a 13% increase. Within that, actually a 51% increase to the maintenance and upkeep of streetlights. An extraordinary increase, and it's one that normally we have this routinely on the consent agenda, but we felt it important to pull for both your review and so the public could hear about this increase. Now, should you choose to deny this evening, we'll move forward with our coalition of cities and law firm to negotiate and hopefully engage in a case that will lower those rates. But again, I wanted to highlight this for your attention as our residents are seeing increased costs. This in particular is a staggering number. We do have a member of Encore's team here this evening if you want to ask specific questions. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have of me.
Mayor and Council, I would just add that this, by going forward with this resolution, this allows cities to kind of consolidate and work together, thus saving costs for both us and the company, so that we basically have one review where all cities are participating to be able to review these costs, make sure that they're reasonable and justified in the way that they're approached, and that it adds for a more efficient process through the Public Utility Commission.
All right. We do need a vote for the resolution. Councilmember Downs? No, do we? This is not no, we don't. We don't have any public comment. So, Councilmember Downs.
Mayor, I move to approve the resolution.
I'll second that.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution of denying the rate change of Encore. Please vote. Motion passes 8-0. Item number 5.
Item number 5, consideration of a resolution to nominate an individual for election to the Collins Central Appraisal District Board of Directors and providing an effective date.
Okay. Once again, this is a resolution that we need to vote for, and let me see if I can help you guys out with some little information. On the Collin County, there were these the two? These are the two positions only, or the two positions that? Oh, here we go. Okay. So the resolution for nominees of the Collin County Appraisal District and Denton County Appraisal District are on Monday's agenda. So for the Collin County CAD, Plano ISD selected Doug Bender as a nominee. And for Denton CAD, Lewis will do that in a minute. So though the PISD selected Doug Bender as their nominee. Down here, we also have a Jerry Tartaglino and Brian Mancy. So these are for the Collin County, which is what we're doing right now. These are the names that have been presented. So we need a motion and a second regarding the nominee, and just again to remind you, Plano ISD selected Doug Bender, and then there's two other names down here as well. What? Go ahead. Let me give it to you.
My question is, we nominate, but are they, are they for sure going to be sitting on?
No, we just get a percentage of the overall vote in Collin County.
So in other words, just because we nominate doesn't mean that that person will automatically get on the.
Correct.
Okay.
It's a cumulative vote all across Collin County from cities and school districts.
Then I.
And this is the nomination process.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I would move, I would be supportive, whatever PISD is nominating.
If it helps any, we get 125 votes out of 2,000 total votes. So
Thank you very much. I
That's-
appreciate that.
yeah.
I will move that we nominate Doug Bender for our Collin County appointee or board of director.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I have a motion and second to nominate Doug Bender for the Collin County CAD. Please vote. Motion passes 8-0. The next item would be for the Denton County CAD. And again, I stopped, but Louisville ISD selected Ann Pomicall and Mike Hennifer as nominees. Again, I think Lisa told us that we could nominate two. Does that dilute those nominees? Not that 125 is going to, put them over the top, but does that dilute those two people? Okay. So the two names that Louisville ISD nominated was Ann Pomicall and Mike Hennifer.
I will move that we nominate those two people for Louisville, or excuse me, for Denton, Denton Central Appraisal District.
Who'd you?
Ann
Okay, Ann
Pomicall
Pomicall.
and Mike Hennifer.
And both, okay. And just for your information, we get 5 votes in Denton County.
Well, they can fight over them.
So we can fight over those.
I will second that.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to nominate both Ann Pomicall and Mike Hennifer as nominees in the Denton County CAD. Please vote. Motion passes 8-0. With there being no further business, we're adjourned.
Lisa McAllister, is this your first time flying solo? Congratulations, great job tonight.
A week ago Friday, so I'm almost done.
Lisa.
1,000 cars. So we have standards in place that we will do on all of our roadways. The other component of that is intersection improvements. So that will account